Hey everyone, I'm glad you joined me today. I want to harvest some of these Nigella pods before they go to seed. This is Nigella Love in a Mist. After it flowers, and I'll put some footage of it flowering, this is a blue variety here, and there's a few pinks scattered in there and purple and stuff like that. But after they flower, they form these beautiful pods, seed pods. Really, one of my favorite parts of Nigella is the seed pod. So I like to dry these seed pods, and I also like to use them. They make a really nice accent in an arrangement. So if you want to use the seed pod, you want to harvest that before it gets too old so that it doesn't burst open, because this pod is full of Nigella seeds. When if I have some Nigella pods that have gone too far and they've dried, I just burst them open and scatter the seeds. That's how I got this entire patch of Nigella. I didn't seed it with new seeds. I just reseeded it from prior years. So, and it will also reseed itself some. But I want to cut some of these Nigella pods to dry, and I have my gloves on because I did see a pretty intimidating spider yesterday. It wasn't a black widow or anything, which I have seen around, but this is what the Nigella pod looks like. Isn't that cool? It's just so unique, and they dry really, really well. Now for these Nigella pods, I won't need to hydrate them for drying. They will dry just fine when I hang them upside down. And in my other video talking about Larkspur, and when I dried that, I did hydrate that 24 hours before I put it for drying, but you won't need to do that. And with most flowers, you don't need to I don't know why I keep saying pre-hydrate. You don't need to hydrate them. Nigella is what is known as a cool flower. So they bloom in the spring. They like the cooler weather, and then as you can see, they put on their seed pods as the weather gets a little bit warmer. They don't continue to bloom all during the summer, but they will pick up and bloom again, or you can re-sow seeds and you can have another crop of Nigella in the autumn time. And I've done that. So yeah, you can do that with your Nigella. And I do want to save some of the pods because I'm going to be making up a couple of more bouquets for the food bank tomorrow. You can drop off items at the food bank on Tuesdays and Thursdays and Saturdays. So you can see this one has three pods, and then it has a little flower that has not bloomed yet there, right there where I'm pointing. But you know, obviously we'll be sacrificing that. You will get a few sporadic blooms after the initial flush of blooms. And as I said, do make sure you succession sow your Nigella a little bit later in the season, and you'll get more towards the autumn. You can see a couple of the flowers still left there. They're almost gone over. And I'm not sure why I don't really use the flowers in arrangements or bouquets too much. You certainly can because they hold up well. But for some reason, I don't know, I go after the pods, the seed pods, more than I do the flowers. But I absolutely love the look of the flowers. And when they're just kind of swaying in the wind, it's like, oh, so pretty. Oop, I just broke one. Well, you'll come off. And you want to make sure that you don't wait too long if you want to use these for drying. This is really the perfect time because they're still intact. If the seed pod gets too old, then it will burst open and then you'll have your seeds everywhere. I may have said that earlier in the video, so if I'm repeating myself, I apologize. But it's pretty important if you want to use it for drying. You don't want to wait too late to harvest them. And when I'm using some to go in a bouquet, I will cut the stems longer. You can see how tall these are, but I'll cut the stems longer for the bouquets. I don't really need them that long for drying. So I'll cut a few more here, and we'll move over to another spot so that we can hang them upside down to dry. So You can see it's just so easy. We harvested a pretty nice basket full to dry. I have plenty left out there for my arrangements and also for drying. If I get too much at one time to dry, to have to put, you know, in rubber bands and everything to dry, I get like, oh, okay, I'm ready to move on to something else. I get tired of it. Now, when you're drying Nigella, you really don't even, and I'm going against what I've said before, but you really don't even need to take off the foliage. And it's okay to handle the Nigella with your bare hands. You don't necessarily need gloves. I've never known it to irritate the skin or anything. But you don't really even need to take off the foliage unless you want to. It dries kind of brown, but it is kind of hard to get it all off. But you really don't need to do that unless you want to. So I think we'll do bundles about this size and hang it upside down to dry. Say, what is that? Don't do as I do, do as I say. It's kind of hypocritical, right? But I have actually just left the Nigella laying and let it dry. But probably for the best way to get it to dry the best, you do want to hang it upside down. So don't be lazy like I was and just leave it. Go ahead and do it properly. And in case you've watched some of I think I have at least one video of my dried flower Christmas tree. This coming Christmas will be the 4th year I've done a dried flower Christmas tree. And I'm hooked on them, on a dried flower Christmas tree. And these just look like, I don't know, sparkling, twinkling lights or something. They don't twinkle, of course, but they kind of remind you of that when they're on the tree. And I'm going to go ahead and let this little pod go. You could leave it. It would dry. I haven't really noticed any pest pressure on Nigella, ever. I'll tell you what, one of the worst, my worst enemies in the garden is spittlebug. And if you've ever seen spittlebug, that's exactly what they do. They make spit to protect themselves, and they will kind of chew a little bit on your stems and stuff. They don't do a ton of damage. They're just so gross. Ugh. And inside the spit will be 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 of these little bugs, and they're kind of yellow. Sometimes they're brown. And, oh gosh, they're so annoying. And I don't know what their natural predator enemy is, you know, the good bug. I have seen ants around where the spittlebugs are, so I'm wondering if the ants are going after the spittlebugs. I'm like, okay, you can do that. Go, ants. The little black ants. But you can take care of them really easily. I just take water, spray the spittlebugs, the spit off, and then I squish the spittlebugs with my hands. And I can't control all of them because there's a lot. I don't know. Now, I've never seen them on the Nigella, but, oh, I don't know why. I don't know whether it's because it's so humid here that we have the spittlebugs. I don't know, but they're one of the worst things in the garden for me, because aphids you can like spray with water and get rid of those little things. And the ladybugs and the ladybug larvae go after the aphids. But the spittlebugs, grr. I will give you a quick update in just a second on this larkspur behind me. I'll slip my gloves on and show you how well it's dried. It's really taunting me. And so I'll put in the description below the video about how we talked about how poisonous larkspur is. Every part of the plant, the leaves, the blooms, everything. And so I'll put that video in the description below in case you didn't get to see it. But let me slip a glove on real quickly and I'll show you how nicely it's dried. I mean, it's like taunting me, like, hey, we're okay, you can leave us. This one is completely dried. Look how well that dried and how well it retained its color. And I hope I have my camera setting bright enough for you to see that, but that is completely dried. And it took less than a week to dry completely. The stems and everything. So, yep. I don't know if y'all can hear the birds. They are like singing to the top of their lungs this morning. It's early here in the morning, and I have not put out my bird feeder yet. So they're talking to me. I usually sow the seed in the fall for the spring bloom. This Nigella will start blooming in pretty, I'm terrible on keeping track of dates, but pretty early in the, mid-spring, it will start blooming. And then right now it is June the 12th. So you can see that it's already, starting to want to go to seed. When you're drying flowers and you're using the rubber band, I always use the rubber band first, and then I use a jute twine, but you want to put your rubber band as tightly as you can. The reason why I do the two-step using the rubber band and the jute twine is because you just can't get your twine tight enough, and once these start drying, the stems shrink. So that's you just want to use the rubber band. I'm going to go ahead and give you an example here of just, tying the jute twine around, and remove these so you can see a little better. So I'm pulling this jute twine very tightly and just tying it in a knot. And then I usually, depending on where I'm hanging it here in my dried flower garden shed, I usually make a slip knot, or I'm probably going to hang these up behind us here or in the front off camera. And I have my little hanging racks. So that's where I will hang this Nigella, these Nigella pods. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and finish processing the rest of these, and I will sign off for now, say goodbye to you. But look at that. Aren't they fun? Gosh, they're so fun. If you haven't tried Nigella, like, it's a super easy flower to grow. No maintenance whatsoever. If you want a beautiful little cottage flower, then give Nigella a try, and it serves a double duty with first the beautiful flower, and then actually a triple duty. First the beautiful flower, and then the seed pods, and then you can harvest the seeds and scatter them again. So thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate you being here. And until next time, friends, happy gardening. Bye.